everybody. Thank you for your time today. So criminals have a digital sophistication that often outpaces, law enforcement, intelligence, and defense agencies, resulting in public trust and safety being put at risk. The requirement from law enforcement is to increase the case clearance rate, and too many cases take far too much time to close. There's a clear need to be able to close cases much faster and more efficiently. And some of the challenges that exist are data volume and variety are overwhelming. Data is complex. There are many different types of applications, and it's impossible to track the constant technological changes and new ways people have to communicate. So as I mentioned, volume of data is increasing, and time is always of the essence due to the overload of cases and needs to shorten the time to evidence. You cannot bridge this gap without technology. The balance is you need to have enough time to review the right data and get the leads you need to get the desired results. Data volume is big, time is limited, and you have two strategies to choose from. Either spend too much time to go over the entire data set, or try your best to guess where the important data exists and dig into that. So today, an average mobile device contains 50,000 images, 3 hours of videos, and nearly 500,000 messages. Average smartphone storage has grown 4 times over the last 5 years, and we expect it to grow even faster in the coming years. So what do you do if you have a suspect at a mass casualty event and you don't know if he's a lone wolf or there are other suspects out there, and all you have is a cell phone? Or what if you have a child exploitation case in which you have hours and hours of video and images that your investigators need to comb through? If you have the capability to find the important evidence in the mountains of data in a timely manner, you can solve those cases quickly. So I've had the opportunity in my career to meet with a number of senior law enforcement and public safety officials along with their staff. And a common theme of what they tell me is the rate of change in technology absolutely allows bad actors to have a competitive advantage over the investigators. The agency's inability to digitally tie bad actors to the crime they commit and to other criminals ultimately puts your citizens at risk. As I work with other investigative leaders, some of their objectives they share with me are case closure, conviction rate, crime rate, and increasingly, how to raise the talent and sophistication of their investigators. So let's start to think about a digital intelligence timeline, a timeline that goes from the incident to the point at which justice and safety takes place. And based on the conversations I've had, I'm told that at least 85% of the cases, probably more, they have digital evidence as a central part of the investigation. And on the other spectrum, a very small amount of all that data that's lawfully and forensically captured needs to be brought forward in a compelling manner in a prosecution or negotiation. And the real trick is, how do you give your team the tools to find the right evidence quickly through the deluge of data that's present in a case? So why is the rate of change so great? While data sources and data volume are increasing significantly, as a matter of fact, I was recently talking with an investigator that told me that in a recent case with wearables, phones, computers, and videos, they had about 30 or more terabytes of data that they needed to review. So any agency is going to be hard pressed to keep up with the data volume and sources and ultimately the digital sophistication of the bad actors. So as we move across your teams at the bottom of the screen, ask yourself this question: are you catching up or are you falling behind the bad actors? So with first responders, the risk we typically see here is the inability to gain access to critical information quickly. What capabilities do you have to extract phone evidence from witnesses and victims in a forensically sound manner without them giving up their phones for a long period of time? And as we move over to the lab, the risk we typically see here is sheer volume. And the backlog of the digital evidence they need to examine can be as long as 30, 60, or even 90 days. And now as we move to the investigators, the risk we see here is threefold: not being able to analyze all the data, too much unstructured data for the investigators to make sense of, and 3 is not finding the correlations because we rely on human time, highlighter pens, and string to find commonalities. So I'll discuss in a moment how CELLEBRITE digital intelligence solutions can help your investigators make these correlations. So in the departments and agencies, the biggest challenge is missing critical links due to silos within your department. Homicide and narcotics can be working a case with the same bad actors right across the hall from one another and not know it because there's no way to digitally collaborate. So let's CELLEBRITE help you with our deconfliction solutions. And finally, As we get to court, prosecutors tell us they need to provide evidence with kindergarten level clarity that you see on TV shows like Law and Order in order for the jury to make connection to the case. Ultimately, at the agency level, we need to work with you to make sure that your public safety spend has an impact on the crime rates and ensure accountability across the investigative process to your standard operating procedures. So let's take a look at what transformation in the investigative process can look like. It starts with accessing and extracting data from devices, cloud sources, drones, social media, computers, and so on, and when and where your teams need it from the victims at the crime scene. Field extraction solutions can immediately accelerate time to evidence and minimize your backlog greatly. Once you access the data, you need to manage it using integrating solutions to store the data securely and preserve forensic integrity, which is absolutely essential. Streamlining digital data directly into centralized data storage will allow you to ensure adherence to SOPs and provide transparency into investigative actions. Ultimately, you need to analyze the data using solutions that rapidly reveal connections, even among disparate sources, that help build and solve cases. This is the force multiplier. Deploy technology to efficiently filter the mountains of data and redeploy your investigators, teams, and talent to focus on cracking the case using digital intelligence. A digital intelligence strategy enables people in the field to make informed decisions as soon as it becomes available. It also eliminates investigative silos to enable forensically sound, secure collaboration across teams, departments, and agencies. So as you think about these phases, think about which ones you would prioritize for the next phase of your transformation. At the heart of a digital investigation, there are the people involved, suspects and sometimes victims or witnesses that have multiple digital identifiers, including phone numbers, email addresses, user accounts, and aliases. And grouping and assigning them correctly, it's not an easy task. I may have 5 or 6 identifiers on my phone today, and your investigator manually needs to create one person or one persona out of all of my identifiers. It's a key factor to get clarity on who the people are related to in the case. So imagine for a second you're an investigator in the mass shootout, Waco, Texas, Twin Peaks. There were 140 devices, and you have 2 rival gangs that don't communicate with each other at all, and you need to determine how they both ended up in the same place at the same time. Using link analysis, we were able to build the links between the 2 gangs and find out they both had one person in common feeding both gangs information, someone that worked in the local prison system. Utilizing CELLEBRITE Pathfinder, they were able to uncover this unknown entity who was ultimately the first indictment handed down for the gang shootout. So Pathfinder runs automatically over thousands of identifiers and aliases to create people with names. And Pathfinder can help you understand who the suspects are and who are the people around them. Media categorization helps you focus on specific topics rather than scanning tons of images and videos. And I want to pause here for a moment and talk about our image similarity and how it helped a small city in the Northeast United States solve a child exploitation case. So after several years of being abused, a brave young girl came forward to law enforcement and told them that every time she went to visit her grandmother's house, the neighbor would sexually abuse her. Through good investigative work, the PD found a lot of data, over 30 terabytes. And through a long weekend, CELLEBRITE ingested all the video, computer data, and cell phone data, along with current and old images of the young girl, into Pathfinder. Using our facial similarity solution against a known data set, we were able to quickly pull all video and pictures of the girl, and were able to determine that she was indeed being exploited over many years. Imagine the amount of time it would take your investigators to comb through that much data to find that 1% relevant evidence to make it to court. It may never be found, but we were able to help them get a conviction of this monster. So ultimately, we give you the ability to search through relevant images by category or similarity quickly without seeing unnecessary images and videos that you cannot see. Conversation and topics is not about which apps your people of interest were using, but what they were saying in context. We give you the ability to view these messages in a contextual format, making sense of the conversations within the text. And location data coming from GPS, apps, and Wi-Fi can be leveraged by investigators. Have you ever had a suspect tell you they haven't been somewhere? Well, now you can easily prove them wrong just by using their phone extractions. Or we can put 2 suspects that claim they don't know each other together at the scene of a crime simply by utilizing their location data on their mobile devices. Ultimately, law enforcement has all the data. You just need a comprehensive digital intelligence solution to streamline your investigative process and help your investigators timely investigate the millions of bits and bytes that lead your department to case closure. Let us help you find out about who your suspect is, who they know, if you know them, and if they pose a threat to your company.